Hello, everybody. Josh Brown here, back for another great episode on Franchise Euphoria. Well, today's episode is brought to you by IndieFranchiseLaw.com, a leading resource in the franchise space to help you if you're considering buying a franchise, turning your business into a franchise, or growing your business through a licensing or franchise structure. So go on, check it out, IndieFranchiseLaw.com. I think you'll find a lot of valuable and free information as you continue to kind of weigh franchising and licensing and the growth of your business. Without further ado, I hope you enjoy today's episode. On today's episode of Franchise Euphoria, I've got Alejandra Font, who is the co-founder of the Camp Transformation Center franchise. She has over 11 years of experience in the health and fitness industry and has a deep passion for transforming people's lives through health and fitness. Within the past 8 years, Alejandra has led a team in opening over 100 camp locations nationally and in Mexico, with her prime focus being in developing teams, sales, and staff mentoring. She has a bachelor's degree in sociology, has competed in 4 bodybuilding competitions where she has placed consistently between first and second place. I think you'll find in this interview that really they've got an incredible story in such a short time frame. Over the last 8 years is when the Camp Transformation Center business was founded, but just started franchising in the last year or so and now have over 100 locations. So I think you'll enjoy hearing her story and how they've been able to grow. Without further ado, enjoy this interview with Alejandra Font. Hello, Alejandra. Welcome to Franchise Euphoria. How you doing?
I'm great. How are you? Thank you so much for having me.
Doing great. I'm thrilled to have you on. I mean, I've worked with and I've had on other gym concepts, but yours is certainly interesting, the Camp Transformation Center, in a good way. I mean, it's different, and looking forward to hearing all about the franchise concept. But before we dive into that, tell a bit about your story and what you've done in your past and sort of how you've come to create or co-found the Camp Transformation Center franchise.
Sure, thank you. Actually, I found fitness later in life. I was probably about 36 when we opened the camp, but maybe just about a few years before, after I had had my kids, that's when I went through my own personal transformation, physical transformation. And, I had been just out of shape my whole life, not very athletic at all. And I always admired, women with athletic builds, but I had no idea how to go about it. So finally, after I had my kids, I decided to figure out how it is that I get the physique that I would love to have. And I did the research. I ended up falling in love with the process, and I became a personal trainer. And that's kind of how it all started. But it was really something later in life for me. It's not like, in my 20s, I was so passionate about fitness. It really wasn't something that I was into, actually.
Well, so then when when you come to that realization, and like a lot of people, you sit there and you realize, okay, I really got this dream. I want to go out. I want to try to achieve this. Then what was your next step? I mean, how did you take it from sort of a thought in your head, an idea in your head, to a reality of starting to implement it?
You mean the physical transformation or the business?
Well, the physical transformation, but as it ties to the business, because it seems like they go hand in hand.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we went through a difficult time in 2008. My husband and I had another business, completely unrelated, which, it was a profitable business, but we were very unhappy. We were not satisfied, we did not feel fulfilled whatsoever in our business. It was just paying our bills and giving us a decent life. So we decided when the crash came in 2008, we decided to focus on our passion. And I had this, newfound passion, which was fitness. And I thought, well, let me give this a go. Let me see if I can make something of this. And once I really started training clients, this was on a personal training level, I realized I absolutely love this, but I need to do this on a bigger scale. I don't want to just train one client at a time. I want to really make a difference in, our local market. And that's kind of how the idea was born.
Well, and then did you bring on other trainers to kind of help teach then your concepts?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, My husband and I had business experience, but we didn't really have the fitness experience, the fitness background. So we had a friend, Sam Bakhtiar. We partnered up with him. He has been in the industry for, I think, since he was like 12. He's a competitive bodybuilder. He had a personal training gym in the area. So we knew him because we had been clients of his. And I approached him and I asked him if he'd be interested in partnering up in this concept that was new at the time in 2010. It was a boot camp. And he's like, oh, is that kind of like an aerobics class? And because he was into bodybuilding. So, I went through it with him. We put our heads together and we came up with the camp. Obviously, the camp has totally evolved. What it was, the first couple of years is not so much what it is today. It's really evolved into something spectacular that we're really proud of. But that's kind of how the beginning was. It was just the pure, passion and love for seeing the transformation in people and wanting to take it further.
Well, and so talk about those early days when it was just the boot camp. What were some of the offerings then, and then how? Obviously you needed to expand on that, and you started to expand on that. But how did you go through that process? Because I know people who are listening to this are going through similar processes, just in different types of businesses. But it's the same kind of thing when you figure out that, okay, here's one aspect of my business. Here's how I think I want to grow. But to really take it to the level, you want to get it to, that you have to add certain things, put more systems in place, put more processes in place. I mean, what was that like for you, and how did you go about doing that?
It was every single day, continues to be, a day that we learned something new. We started out with, a very low cost to enter. It was like a $47 for the month to enter initially, and unlimited sessions. It was like a 2-week fat flush, we called it. So we were always coming up with all these different promotions, and they were effective. We would get people through the door, but we didn't feel anything extremely special. Nothing really differentiated us significantly. I mean, there weren't a lot of our type of gym in the area. The boot camp concept wasn't very popular, so that was definitely different. But we wanted something that made really more of an impact in people's lives. And that's kind of how the challenge came up, the 42-day, 20-pound challenge. And that is something that we're very well known for. We implemented that in late 2014, and that has really been a game changer for us. We've transformed hundreds of thousands of people's lives, and 100% of our franchisees have been through our program. They were touched, personally by our program, and that's what made them want to decide to become a franchisee. So that's really we tried many, many programs in the past, and this one was the one that really made the biggest difference.
So Alejandra, you were talking about this 42-day weight loss challenge. Can you give some details about that? You indicated how that sort of revolutionized your business or had such a huge impact in your business. Talk a little bit about how you came up with that challenge and how you rolled it out to get so many people involved with it.
Sure. Well, my business partner, Sam, had tested this type of challenge previously. As I said, he had been in the business for years, prior. So he had always tried this type of challenge, but it hadn't really stuck either. But we came up with a price that seemed to work, in practically any demographic. It was $497. The intention was to lose 20 pounds within 42 days, which is 6 weeks. Now, the catch was that if you lost the 20 pounds, you would get your money back. And that is really what made the biggest difference. We offered a money back guarantee as long as you lost your 20 pounds. And that really kept people accountable, because we would have people sign up for all sorts of different types of programs, but they would fall off after a while because, there's no accountability there. That habit of, not working out and eating poorly was just stronger than their desire to lose weight. But when you put money in the mix, it really made the biggest difference.
So you were issuing a lot of refunds, huh?
We weren't, actually. We were getting people. It was so interesting. The first challenge we did, we had all the refund checks ready to go at final weigh-in day. And people were like, well, I want to stay. I mean, what do you mean here's your check and, goodbye? Like, no, we want to stay. And so we realized we ended up giving back like 2 refunds that day. All the other people, the successful people, wanted to stay. And we find that now, our refund rate never goes above 5%. And in many, many cases, it's, 2%, 3%. But for the most part, 5% our refund rate is. That's because we keep the people that lose the weight, that they want to stay. And even the people that don't hit the goal, they many times also sign up as members.
So talk about the camp's unique fitness model. Because as I was preparing for this interview, I was, looking on the website, and it seems like you've sort of got a 4-part process that's part of your unique offering.
As far as what the client receives, first of all, I think we focus on an area in the fitness space that has been ignored and continues to be ignored, except for by us. We focus on a demographic that is, the obese of the country. It's really an area where there isn't much focus at all as far as fitness goes. There might be some focus in weight loss type of clinics, where people have to take medication or injections or something to lose weight. But of course, we go about it the natural way. If you notice all the fitness brands, the national brands out there, they tend to focus on a social class that is a little bit higher end, and the people are also in already decent shape. Some of our competitors, which we don't even consider them competitors because we don't fight for the same client, it's more boutique, upscale. Prices are quite a bit higher than what we charge per month. And it's a client that is already very aware. They might be doing yoga, cycling, as well as, some kind of a boot camp. We focus on a blue collar, middle America, just a typical American family, both husband and wife working, maybe, in the 40s to 70,000 income range. And this group of people has been ignored, and they have no idea how to go about losing weight. They're not wearing the fancy workout clothes, the Lululemon clothes to the gym. They come in, regular workout clothes from like Target or Walmart. They don't come in half cut, midriffs, tops. They come in big t-shirts because they don't feel comfortable. They are overweight and they need that support, that guidance. They need someone cheering them on and someone to show them exactly what it is that they need to do to get to their goal weight. And that's what we do. We handhold them step by step.
And so are you attracting people who already have gyms and then you're helping them with your program, or are you?
As far as, you mean clients?
Well, no, like with the franchisees, because you've got over 100 franchisees at this point,
Yes, 110.
which is really impressive over an 8-year period of time. How are you attracting those folks, and what type of franchisees are the ideal franchisees that are you looking for?
So, it's funny. 100% of our franchisees have been clients or employees of ours. But obviously, we know there's a huge market out there for people that, don't only go to the camp to open a camp franchise. We are interested in people. I think the best fit for us are people that really have a passion and a desire to help people, because our business is an experience business. It's about helping people. Obviously, our product is fitness. Our product is the workout, giving a great workout. But we really have to be understanding and empathetic with our clients. So our franchisees need to understand that and be open to that. So we have many franchisees that, well, all of them, 100% of them, except plus the employees that have gone through the program. So they understand what it's all about. They understand what it feels like to walk in and be 50 pounds overweight and, not know how to do a squat or a jumping jack, and need that assistance.
How do you keep people to a program? Because I know obviously there's motivation, and perhaps your greatest motivation is when you're trying to get to that ideal weight or try to get to that level of in shape where you feel great. But how do you sustain that long term?
Well, you sustain it by results. Definitely results will fuel that motivation. So we focus on results. We're very results driven, but we're also very experience driven. We over deliver on the experience. We want to make sure that our people, our clients feel appreciated, feel acknowledged, like they matter when they come into our gym. We don't want to be that gym that, only calls when the credit card doesn't go through when the credit card declines. We want a friendly face when you walk into the door. We want our clients to feel welcome and happy and, like we really care about them, because we do. We're making an impact in their life, and they see our gym like a second home.
So, I mean, obviously you've had, as I've mentioned, a lot of success. You've got over 100 locations, but I'm sure along the way over the last 8 years or so, there's been certain things you've had to overcome. I mean, every business owner operator has to do that. I'm curious, what's a challenge that is part of growing a franchise system that you've had to overcome that you can share?
Oh, sure. There have been many, many challenges. Where do I start? There isn't really one in particular. We got into franchising totally by accident. For the first, until 2017, actually, we didn't start franchising. In about 2015, a client approached us and asked us to sell her a franchise. And, we weren't a franchise company at the time. So we had to figure out how to do this and do it really quickly, because we were getting a lot of people, and we were thinking, well, we might as well take advantage of this opportunity. We're going to get many people to want to expand our brand. I mean, why not? It just seems like a perfect scenario. So we went into licensing originally, and I think that was a mistake originally. It definitely allowed us to expand quickly, because a license is much different than a franchise. Franchise is very regulated and it's very complicated. With the licensing model, it was very easy. I think we sold probably like 70 licenses the first year that we started offering it. And in retrospect, we probably should have just been a little bit more patient, gone through the paperwork, all the legalities with the franchise, and done it as a franchise from the get-go. So later in 2017, when we did become a full-blown franchise company, we had to convert all those people. And it was actually not a challenge. I mean, every one of them converted over to a franchise.
That's amazing.
But yeah, it was. It was a little worrisome for a second, but everyone was profitable. Everyone was happy. There was no question. So everyone converted. But it was definitely a trying time, that I think that was probably our biggest mistake, going into licensing so eagerly and quickly instead of thinking it through.
And so my guess is, I understand. So just so the audience understands, it sounds like what you did with the licensing was you were effectively, before you decided to franchise, you were effectively licensing out your programs, right? Your
Right.
fitness programs, your packages. You were licensing them out as a piece of intellectual property in and of themselves, but it wasn't a full-fledged
Right.
franchise where you would have control
Control.
over their
Exactly.
aspects. So then you added that control element, went through regulatory scheme. It's fascinating to me that all of them converted over, because
Yes.
that you should feel very fortunate about that. That's great. That speaks a lot to the connection that you have with your licensees, because oftentimes when people start off with the licensing model and then convert to franchising, once the licensees see, the 200-page document for
Mm-hmm.
the franchise,
Right.
they freak out.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we figured, we had heard that we would probably lose a lot of people. But yeah, we were lucky. I mean, I think mainly people were happy and profitable. I mean, that's the bottom line.
Well, and you're continuing to expand. Where are the primary areas going forward, like throughout 2019 and 20 that you're looking to expand?
We're in 12 other states, but we are looking to expand in Tennessee. We're focused on Tennessee pretty significantly, and then we still have a lot of room in Texas, in Florida, and that's where we have some locations already. So we'd like to kind of fill up those areas. We'd love to be in New York, in Oregon. I mean, we have one in Oregon, but we want to add more. So we're looking definitely to expand aggressively. Our 5-year plan is to have 500 locations up and running. So we need to get to work.
That is an audacious plan. I give you a lot of props for that. That's great. If anybody wants to learn more about the Camp Transpiration Center franchise, you can go to www.thecampfranchise.com or www.thecampt as in Tom, C as in Charlie.com. Any other contact information you want to give out for anybody who has an interest in learning more?
Let's see. My Instagram, it's just my first name and last name, Alejandra Font.
Well, fantastic. Thanks so much. I'm really interested in this model. It sounds like you've done it very, very well. And I like the idea. And I think it's a lesson to everybody that, expanding from within is often the best way to do it.
Hmm.
It can be challenging to find people who aren't familiar with your system or haven't worked within your system to then come in and buy in as a franchisee. But when they know you and when they've worked within the system, it's a lot easier to get them involved.
Oh, yeah, for sure. We've been blessed in that sense, for sure.
Well, thanks so much for coming on. I wish you the best of luck.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure.
Thank you so much for tuning in for another episode of Franchise Euphoria. If you enjoyed this episode or have enjoyed the podcast in general, I would really appreciate it if you could go to iTunes and leave me a rating and review. It really helps to get this podcast out to more and more people. So the easy way to do it is go to iTunes and in the search box, put in Franchise Euphoria. You will then see my cover art and you click on my smiling face that says Franchise Euphoria and then click on the link that says ratings and reviews. It's that simple, but boy, oh boy, does it mean the world to me when people leave ratings and reviews. And like I said, it really helps get the show out there. Once again, would love it if you would go to iTunes and leave a rating and review if you enjoyed this episode or other episodes of the show. And until the next time, happy franchising.